Sophia sells pens and pencils at the local village market. She started with a total number of 60 pens and pencils originally. After selling 20 pens and 2/3 of the pencils, she ended up having equal number of pens and pencils. How many pens did she start with? This problem came from a 4th grade math text used in Singapore. Yes, you heard me right. I did say 4th grade. In the US, we see problems like this in middle school, high school texts, and sometimes even in a college algebra text. In the US, we are expected to use 2 equations. You have to start with the number of pencils and the number of pens. Let's say number of pencils is A, number of pens is B, and then construct a set of 2 equations and then solve for the 2 variables. Now, since it came from a 4th grade text, I'm going to do it visually so that a 4th grader can understand the solution. That's our goal. Now, how can students in the US benefit from it? Well, once you understand the visual method, it can only help you understand the meaning, the authentic, genuine meaning of the question so that you can write your equations correctly. Because for a middle school student, it is not a very easy problem. It is a challenging problem for a middle school student in the US, actually in many places. It is. And so the idea is to really understand how things work. And if you understand the visual solution, and if you want to do it algebraically, there's nothing wrong with it. But the algebra will make more sense if you understand it visually. At least that's what I believe. So let's go ahead and look at the visual solution. We're going to work on this problem backwards. We're going to start with this scenario. After selling 20 pens and 2/3 of the pencil, she ended up having equal number of pens and pencils. So this is the number of pens she had after she sold 20 of them. And after she sold 2/3 of the pencils, she ended up having this many pencils. And they are the same because the rectangles are the same size. Now, we're going to build on this. We're going to start with this and go back and try to reconstruct the original scenario. How do we do that? We're going to do it on the next slide. So what I have here is a reconstruction of the original scenario. Finally, she had 1 rectangle worth of pens in their box, right? Originally, she must have had that box plus 20 pens. Okay, and this one is a little more tricky, but we'll discuss it. If somebody sells 2/3 of the pencils, she will be left with 1/3. So if this is 1/3, this is 2/3, this is 3/3. So that makes sense. If this is 1/3 and you want to find 3/3 or 1 whole, 3/3 make a whole. So you're going to say 1/3, take a second copy, that gives you 2/3, take a third copy, that gives you 3/3. So this makes sense to say that she had 3 rectangles worth of pencils originally. Now, according to this sentence, she started with a total of 60 pens and pencils. I am going to claim that all of this should add up to 60. I'm going to claim that all of this should add up to 60. Why? Because the question says the total number of pens and pencils she had originally was 60. Now, from this picture, can we determine what each rectangle is worth? I think we can. How do we do that? Well, this is one way you can do it. You can say that if 4 rectangles plus 20 make 60, 4 rectangles must be worth 40. 60 minus 20 is equal to 40. If 4 rectangles together are worth 40, each rectangle must be worth 10. Each rectangle must be worth 10. And we're going to type it all up. Maybe green wasn't the best choice to be on top of purple, but we'll make do. Now, that's the explanation, and we already have the answer. We can see it on the screen, but I'm going to take you to the next slide. So what I have here is basically the previous slide with the distractions removed. And now the final part of the question says, how many pens did she start with? And my answer would be 10 plus 20. My answer would be 10 plus 20, which turns out to be 30. That's my final answer.